Hey, hi, Peter Watts Retrospect. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, today I obviously want to talk about my Rolex Explorer. This is the 114270, but I also want to talk about how a different Rolex Explorer way back originally got me into watches. Amazing myself here, but back in 1980 or 81, my late brother Ronald gave me a refurbished Rolex Explorer that had actually been sent to Rolex in New York to be serviced and came back all repolished and had a new dial, new handset and everything. That watch pretty much looked brand new when I got it. For now, we're going to call that one a 1016, but it's possible that it could even have been a 6610 if that's even possible. They made the Rolex Explorer 1016 up to 1989, and it originally came out in 1960 to replace the 6610. Now, the way the story goes with my original one is my brother had picked it up for a mere $300 and stated that the dial and handset were very, very faded. Now, I never saw that watch before it was sent to New York, so I don't know for sure the condition it was in. My brother had a very close friend that had connections with Rolex in New York, and the story goes he got it redone as a favor for no cost. That's all hearsay to me, but that's the way the story was presented to me, so that's the story I go with. Now, I owned that watch from, like I said, 1980 to up until about '05, so I had that watch for about 25 years. And at one point down here, now in Orange County, California, I had a local gentleman who worked on my watch a few times, and he actually worked right out of his home, and he was really good. He replaced the crystal and did some other repairs to it over the years. But at one point, he had told me that my watch was a marriage watch, quote unquote. At the time, years ago, I didn't know my watch as a reference number. Probably had no idea it was a model 1016. So I never really elaborated, what he meant by that, about being a marriage watch. I thought maybe he was just talking about the fact that the dial and the hands had been changed, so that made kind of sense to me. But looking back at my watch in the year I got it, when my brother first got it, was so faded in 1980. I sometimes wonder, was that watch over 20 years old, and could it have been a 6610? And maybe what he meant by a marriage watch, it was a 6610 that had a 1016 dial on it. I'll probably never know. That watch, again, I sold back in '05 or so, and I'm sure I sold it for under $2,000. I know somewhere between like $1,500 to $2,000 I let that watch go for. And we all know what a 1016 is worth today. They're worth probably anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000. So, ouch, But I'm sure we all have stories like that with watches we've owned in the past, especially the way prices have soared, But anyway, over the next 15 years from that time, I did, I was fortunate enough to have owned 3 different Rolex Submariners. And I'm talking the pre-ceramic Submariners, the ones with the aluminum bezel. My last one was a 16613 two-tone Submariner, with the stainless and the gold. And that watch to this day is probably really my grill watch. I had the black dial, not the bluesy that everybody knows of, but it was the black dial. I thought they were a little more elegant looking. Unfortunately, I sold my last one, that two-tone, for like half of what they're worth today. I sold it back in 2019, and for around $6,000, and now they're worth like $12,000. So again, it breaks my heart. But anyway, I was fortunate enough back in late 2022 to pick up this Rolex. And this is, if I didn't mention already, this is an '07 model. Came out in early '07, in April of '07, according to the paperwork. And it was just before they started doing the engraved rehots. This watch has the plain rehaut in there because it came out early, a little bit later. I think some of the '07 models had that. They started doing the engraving on the rehaut. But this one here is, now what, probably about 17 years, 17 years old, and it looks as good as new. When I picked it up, it had been redone. So this thing pretty much is really, you'll take a look at it, is very, very clean, very clean. But anyway, this thing here, we'll take a look at it in a minute. To me, it's an icon for Rolex. It's, when you consider their sports watches, it's not even really in their holy trinity, of their sports watches. That, of course, would be the Submariner, the GMTs, and the Daytonas. Those are your real big money watches. They probably cost like double of what these these cost, but this is still in the sports lineup, and that's why it has the Mercedes hands and everything. Um, but it is certainly a icon, and many people have considered this as one of the most versatile watches that you can own. I have a little line I use with this Explorer, and that is that it's just as much at home in your underwear watching a football game as it is in a tuxedo at a wedding. And this watch will pull it off. I mean, it's not this, high-end luxury watch, but it still has a certain elegant touch to it, and it will fit into almost any occasion, any attire. It's certainly one of the most versatile watches out there to this day. Many people talk about one watch collections, and this is certainly a watch that would fill that bill. But anyway, let's take a closer look. Let's first look at what I have on. Little wrist check, as we always do. Right here is my new Doxa Sub 200. I've had this for just a few weeks. Absolutely love it. I have a video I did on this too as well. And I actually love this watch. This might become one of my favorite dive watch companies, Doxa. This goes back to, Jacques Cousteau helped design some of their later watches. But just love the orange dial, and that's why I got it, to be honest. And on my other wrist, I have a 39 Christopher Ward, a 39 millimeter Sealander GMT. And the reason I got this too is because they do make the Explorer in a 39, so kind of give you an idea what an Explorer would look like in a 39 millimeter on my wrist. This is a great watch too. I have a few videos on these as well. But getting back to what we have at hand, this is the 114270. Just one of the most simplistic watches out there. Again, very famous for just a 369 dial. It's probably one of the most duplicated dials in design. Anytime you see a watch with that kind of design, with those 3 Arabic numerals, they always refer back to the Explorer style, to this dial here. One of the greatest things about this watch is how it flies under the radar. If you don't know watches, you have no idea this is a Rolex. If you wear a Submariner, people know. The people look at it, and it's one of the most recognizable watches out there. And the beauty of this is that it's just no one knows. No one knows. I mean, there's certain times you want a bigger watch or fancier watch to flex a little bit, but this thing here just is totally under the radar. And I love it. I drive for a living, and I drive here through Southern California, and I could end up anywhere. I could end up in, some crazy neighborhoods in LA, and I don't worry about the watch that I'm wearing, like someone's going to clunk me on the head for it, because it just does not scream Rolex. But anyway, let's look at it. I think most people are somewhat familiar with the dimensions on it. It is, obviously, this is the 36. If you really measure it, it's probably closer to 35 point something, to be honest, as far as its width. It's about a little bit over 11 millimeters thick. So this thing just melts into your wrist. It's about 44.5 millimeters on its lug to lug, and it does have the infamous 20 millimeter lug width. This watch is considered a strap monster. A lot of people put these on either a leather strap or NATOs and things like that. Personally, I'm an Oyster bracelet fan, so that's what I keep it on, and probably always will. I just really love the Oyster bracelets for sure. But the way this watch fits, it just melts into your wrist. And it's just so comfortable. You can wear this watch all day, and it has enough weight to know it's there, but it just fits under the cuff as well as any watch. And it's just outstanding, and again, just does not really draw attention. And most people find out it's a Rolex, or it is. They're kind of surprised, to be honest with you. But let's put it on and take a look at it here on my wrist. Let's take a look at it. And again, a lot of people consider this, they call it a small watch. And even though the trend today is going back to smaller watches, I'm a big Christopher Ward fan. I've noticed they're coming out almost every other day with one of their current watches, but they're downsizing them to 36 in a lot of cases. And there is a little bit of a trend to go smaller these days. But to me, I mean, you look at that on my wrist, is that small? Is that a small watch? I mean, yeah, it's not the size of a Submariner. Most of my other watches are in that 39 to 41 range, most of them. And it's still a sweet spot for me. But this still has just got a very classic look to it. And you can wear this with almost anything, just about anything. One thing about the bracelet on this is how comfortable it is. I know the newer iterations have a more substantial bracelet, and they're heavy, they're beefier and everything, but they're not as comfortable. There's no way. This thing just fits so comfortably. If you take, the clasp is like half the size of what the newer ones are, and I don't think any of them just have that same feel. And the newer ones, this watch here ran until I believe, '09, and then in 2010 Rolex came out with the 39, and that 39 only lasted 10 years, and then they discontinued it and went back to a 36. And then that was like in 2021 when they came back out with the newer 124-270. That's the newer 36. And then they even came out with a new 40. So right now they do offer this in both a 36 and a 40. But the thing you see with those newer watches are just like most Rolexes today, like most of the 6-digit Rolexes, they're just blockier. They're blockier to me. The indices and everything are bolder. And I don't know, proportions on this one to me, I think, are just perfect. I think this is the best Explorer, this iteration here. It's new enough to have the newer movement, and it's, the bracelet's got the solid end links on it and everything. The only thing it's missing is it does not have lume on the 3, 6, and 9, which they did change when they came out with the Mark II 39 millimeter. They came out with I'm not sure when the Mark II came out, but that one they started putting the lume in the numerals as well. So only the indices and the triangle at 12 illuminate on this, but it is super luminova. Let's say that again, and it is very reactive. It doesn't last real long, but I mean, this thing just catches a glimpse of the sunlight. I go out in the balcony and the sun catches it for, like seconds, and you walk back into a dark room and it's illuminated really well. And again, it doesn't last real long, but it's still, unlike the older ones of these where they had the different lume material, those things are all burnt out and don't lume at all. So this thing will always lume. It's just missing the lume on the numerals. But other than that, I mean, I don't know why you would spend a few thousand more for the newer one. They have a more substantial bracelet, as we mentioned, but I just don't think it's as comfortable as these are. And they're just bolder and bigger and blockier. They made the numbers bigger. Everything's bigger. The indices and the numbers are bigger, so they can accommodate the extra the lume for the Arabic numbers, and that's neat. They look great. They definitely do when they're loomed up. But I don't know, lume. I love lume, but it's never a deal breaker for me when it comes to a watch. And to me, I actually do like the way the lume works on this so reactively. So I have no problems with this compared to the newer one. But these are just one of the most comfortable watches. They go with just about anything. You can wear this with any attire. No one knows it's a Rolex for the most part, but you do. And I think that's just a cool aspect about this watch. And it will always be it'll always be one of my main watches. I don't see myself ever getting rid of this watch. I bought this my son was the age I was when my late brother gave me mine back in the early 80s. So when I purchased this, it was like, this is an heirloom for my son, and these things last forever. So hopefully that's quite a few years down the road before he grabs it. But I just absolutely love this watch, and I think it's one of the most iconic watches ever made, and it will always go down in history as a watch that's been duplicated by so many other designers and such. But I will always cherish this watch. But hey, Rolex Explorer, still one of the most versatile watches that you will find, and just, it is a Rolex, so it's well made. It will last for years and years and years, and it's just such a classic watch. I absolutely love it, and it will always be in my collection. Anyway, I really appreciate you stopping by. This is Peter, Watch Retrospect. Hope you enjoyed it. If you got any comments, please leave them below. If there's any questions, I'll gladly answer them if I know the answer. And again, thanks for stopping by. Thank you so much.